You all know the Great Wall of China, right? They built that massive 8,800-kilometer long wall to stop northern invaders, and most of it is still standing today. But it looks like the Chinese haven't quite finished with their wall building. Now, they need another one, not to stop northern enemies this time, but to stop the harsh forces of nature. The Gobi Desert. This desert creeping into China is way more dangerous than any historical invasion. See, China doesn't have much arable land. Even though the country is about the same size as the US, only 12% of its land is farmable, compared to 52% in the US. And now, even that small percentage is under threat. The desert dragon of the Gobi is slowly creeping south, swallowing up fertile land. Deserts naturally expand if left unchecked, and China, home to the world's largest population, can't afford to lose farmland. After years of struggle, China has finally reached a point where it can feed its people, thanks to advanced greenhouse farming, especially in the Xinjiang region. This place is mostly desert and rocky, making farming nearly impossible, but modern greenhouses have made it work, producing high-quality crops like tomatoes, onions, garlic, watermelons, and melons. Historically, famine has been the deadliest disaster for China, and only now have they managed to avoid widespread starvation. But just as they started breathing easy, they realized a new threat was emerging. The Gobi Desert was advancing at an alarming rate. If left alone, it would turn even more of China's farmland into desert. China already had plenty of deserts, in fact, 27% of its land is desert. But with the Gobi expanding every year, things were getting even worse. In 2006, China was hit with a terrifying statistic. The Gobi Desert was swallowing up 1,600 square kilometers of land per year. While there are many deserts in the world, the Gobi is the driest after Antarctica. Because of this extreme dryness, sandstorms are a constant issue, and sometimes they get so intense that they reach cities like Beijing, even though the capital is far from the desert. That year, China had its wake-up call. They realized that if they didn't stop this desert, not only would famine return, but their country could literally start turning into a wasteland. So, they came up with a massive plan: build another Great Wall. But this time, a green wall. Instead of bricks and stones, this wall would be made of trees, a vast, dense forest to block the desert's advance. Calculations showed they needed 100 billion trees to complete the project, which is expected to be finished by 2050. This Green Wall of China is 4,500 kilometers long, not as long as the original Great Wall, but much, much thicker. China has always struggled with deforestation. Only 5% of its land is covered by forests. But once this project is done, that number will increase to 13.5%. Since China is a communist country with a strict government, they were able to enforce this project on a massive scale. The government selected millions of people from different regions and sent them to work on the Green Wall. While participation was technically forced, the government paid them good wages, so people were willing to do it. How did they start? First, they planted drought-resistant shrubs, like desert thorns, to stabilize the soil. Once that was done, they introduced larger trees, mostly poplars. The project is highly organized. Every region has a trained supervisor who manages teams, ensuring the land is properly reforested. Where is the project now? As of today, 2.5 billion trees have already been planted. That's the highest number in the world. The second place goes to India, which has planted 2.1 billion trees. But the Green Wall project is still in its early stages. By the time it's finished, China will have planted 100 billion trees. By 2021, the desert's advance was officially stopped, and in some areas, it even started retreating. So far, 13 million hectares of new forest have been created. That's an area the size of Greece. Even though the project isn't finished yet, it's already a huge success. Not only has it stopped desertification, but it has also improved the climate, increasing rainfall in the affected areas. But what about the downsides? Some Western experts criticize the project, saying that planting mostly poplars is risky. If a disease affects these trees, it could wipe out the whole forest. This concern made China adjust its strategy, and now they're planting a greater variety of trees. Ironically, while the Green Wall has helped most of northern China, it has made Beijing's pollution worse. Normally, winds from the north help clear Beijing's smog, but the new forests have blocked those winds, making the air quality worse. Despite this, the benefits far outweigh the negatives. Right now, only 10% of the forest is complete, but it's already the largest human-made forest in history.